we're just welcoming our next speaker, who is Deepak Das. Deepak is the lead for knowledge management within Grant Thornton LLP. And Deepak's presentation is, again, it's really topical at the moment. It's on exploring the benefits of generative AI for knowledge management, looking beyond large language models. So Deepak, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Alec. Can you confirm if you're able to see me and hear me clearly?
Yes, I can see you perfectly, and the sound is good.
All right. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Alec. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deepak Das, and I lead the Grant Thornton LLP's knowledge management practice in India. In my role, I drive firm-wide knowledge collection, sharing, collaboration, and employee engagement strategy by building best-in-class knowledge solutions that's designed really to elevate internal customer experience, drive impactful change, and deliver business results in the firm. I'm really excited to be here and talk about AI. Though I'm not a generative AI expert, but I've been a student along with my team. We have been reading and doing some testing around it. So I'm happy to talk about our experience so far around generative AI. So I think many of you know AI innovation in knowledge management used to be on the sideline for years, but with generative AI entering the scene, I believe KM is getting the attention of C-suites executives. And I also believe this perhaps is the best time to be a KM professional. So if you're new to this world, I think this is the time to learn and build your knowledge and be that professional you want to be. So you may recall earlier this year, EY CEO talked about their plan to use generative AI to improve knowledge management in their firm. Since then, technologists across enterprises are racing to find practical applications for this powerful technology and assess its impact on business operations, employee productivity, and user experience. So my goal today is really, let me share my screen and bring up my slides. Can you please confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yes, yep, I can see the screen fine.
All right. So my goal today is to share real-life examples of how KM team at Grant Thornton is approaching generative AI. And I'll specifically touch upon the critical work that must be done before enterprises can harness
Deepak,
the
sorry,
benefits.
you're not in presentation mode. I think it's showing the notes as well.
Okay. Just give me a moment.
No problem.
I'm new to Zoom.
Okay.
We use Teams. Does this work?
It's still showing the notes. I think if you click display settings, that may. press F8. I think that may help.
Not much is happening here.
If you click maybe hide presenter view.
Takes me back. Let me. How about now? This should fix it, I guess.
Perfect. That looks good.
All right. Sorry about
Thanks.
that. Thank you,
No
Alex.
problem.
All right. So I was talking about my goal really is today to share real life example of how KM team at Grant Thornton is approaching generative AI. I will specifically touch upon the critical work that must be done before enterprises can harness the benefits of generative AI to collect, create, assess, and share relevant information. And then I also like to share a few use cases that we have identified to pilot in the firm and explore the capabilities of generative AI for potential implementation. So my hope really is by end of the session, you walk away with a good understanding of foundational work that is needed before AI capabilities are embedded in your organization's process. And I hope you also draw some inspiration from Grant Thornton's challenges and the successes we have seen so far and apply them to your organization to implement generative AI to drive smoother knowledge flows. After all, we are all knowledge professionals, and we share knowledge freely, right? So that's really the objective I have for the day today. But before I tell you about specific examples of what we are doing, I would like to do a quick pulse check. So if I may request you to open your internet browser and go to menti.com and enter the code that you see here on my screen. If you're not near your laptop, you can also use your cell phone to access menti.com and type in this code. So let me share my screen and bring up the poll here. So this is the question. I would like to understand if your current infrastructure is mature and safe enough to apply generative AI. Let's see, people are voting. Great. I see 17 votes. All right, more coming in. Okay, I'll give a few more seconds. All right, so it looks like we've got 21 votes, and it looks like a lot of you are coming from mature organization, which is great to see. And looks like your content infrastructure is quite ready for the generative AI, which is a great news. But when we started at Grant Thornton, we asked ourselves this question: if we have the content infrastructure which is mature and safe enough to apply generative AI right away. And when we gave it some thought, and the answer we got was not, we are not ready, and we had to take some steps really to prepare ourselves to bring generative AI into our KM system. So let me go back to my slide. So I think when you think of implementing generative AI, I think there is various ways in which you can approach that. But I would recommend, based on our experience, dividing your efforts into 5 buckets. That includes align, assess. We call them align, assess, secure, test, and train. So let's start with align bucket in a bit. So these are the 5-step approach we had taken before implementing generative AI into our knowledge management system. So let me do a deep dive on Align. Our first step was to understand Grant Thornton's strategy for Gen AI. If you're not familiar with what your organization's stance is, you may want to start by seeking answers to a few basic questions and dive deeper from there. Is it a complete AI-driven approach, representing a full integration and dependency on AI across operations? Or is it the middle that adopts AI selectively for specific applications? Or are you at the other end of the spectrum, where there is a reluctance to adopt AI, or there's enough skepticism towards it? I think this position on the spectrum directly influences the choice of governance model, use case identification and evaluation, and as well as strategic direction for your KM program. So it's really important to understand what is your firm strategy for generative AI. Once you have gained insight into the broader strategy, step 2 is to align your KM specific strategy with it. And I believe KM does a really good job of aligning their strategy with the larger firm strategy. We have been doing that for quite some time now. So, start realigning your roadmap against criteria such as project acceptance, effectiveness, openness, security, compliance with the law, and most importantly, favorable estimated ROI in tandem with the firm's objective. So it's really important you do that. Ensure that any KM project with a potential AI use case is rigorously evaluated based on these criteria. And any use case with unnecessary risk is identified and filtered through these mechanisms. This would ensure that your AI adoption is responsible, beneficial, and aligned with the firm's values and strategic objective. Additionally, what we did, we added a mechanism to gauge the success of our initiative by creating key performance indicators such as efficiency drivers and efficiency improvements, adoption, cost saving, and user satisfaction. After you have created evaluation criteria for your potential use cases, I would strongly recommend creating a core group to evaluate KM opportunities and challenges generative AI present for your organization. Ensure that this group consists of people representing all important business functions within the firm. For example, legal. We have made some friends with legal because we wanted them to be part of this early on, instead of coming later and asking tough questions. Make sure you have representation from HR, from IT, and any other key business line. You have the seat on the table early on. So these were some of the things we did to align KM with the broader firm strategy. Now let's move on and look at the assess bucket. So step 3 really is to evaluate whether your KM system are ready to integrate with generative AI tools and application. AI is really not a one-size-fits-all solution. All of you know, I believe, that there are different types of AI application and technologies that can support different KM functions and scenarios. So, for example, NLP can help you analyze text and images, and speech data. Machine learning can help you predict or discover pattern and trends, and chatbot can help you provide interactive and personalized support. So you need to evaluate the features, benefits, and limitation of various AI tools and platforms and select the ones that really fits your goals and requirement. AI can only work well if it had access to high quality and relevant data. And a critical step before adopting a more AI is to bring better rigor in identifying the right information, organizing it so that users can discover and access it, and keeping it authentic and updated on a regular basis. So any effort towards adding speed and value or accelerating contextual content placement or reviewing it daily activities and pinning down opportunities for a smarter way to perform repetitive tasks will bear fruit only after this step. This really is very, very important. So here's what we are doing at Grant Thornton right now as we speak. KM is leading an effort to conduct a thorough assessment of content across the firm, and we are considering three strategic areas. One is our platform, including areas not traditionally owned by KM, our service line and functions, and our content type. So we are using a couple of key indicators to assess our content maturity. And the first one is really the content quality, which will help us understand the value of knowledge or insights offered and how the content is being perceived and adopted by our practitioners. Second, content operations, which focuses on how well the systems that support content lifecycle operate. And finally, governance, what is being done, what quality measures are in place to ensure content that is available is relevant, accurate, and consistent. All of this is being done in collaboration with different teams across the firm so that we deploy a systematic process to collect content and address gap based on the strategic prioritization. So it's only after this step that you plan to integrate your AI tools and platforms with your existing KM systems and data sources, such as your customer relationship management system or CRM system, your document management system, your knowledge base, your firm's internet or your internal social media channels. If you're able to do that, you will, you can ensure that your AI solution can collect, process, and use the data that you already have and generate insights that are consistent and accurate. So step 4 really is to assess whether you have an adequate amount of data points to effectively train a generative AI models to understand context and generate meaningful insights. So at GT, we realized that this would be one of our key challenges. For an organization of our size, roughly 10,000 plus employees, there is a lesser likelihood of the firm generating enough data points at a regular enough frequency for any model to feed on it. And additionally, we also ran into a challenge of, we realized that bulk of the firm's operational data as well as the critical knowledge is logged in siloed system. This further reduces the number of data points we could use to train the generative AI model. So we are in the process of untangling this for ourselves and learn from it. And again, there is no one size fits all approach. It really depends on the kind of problem you want to solve and the kind of insights you want it to exhibit. So this is a crucial step, and it is critical you create a watertight definition of it before you start even building your model. So to give you a perspective, I think an image classification problem could require tens and thousands of images. Sentimental analysis or document classification problem can require thousands of examples due to sheer number of words and phrases. However, there are some general best practices to follow and questions to ask about your data. So, for example, in time series forecasting, right, there is a general thumb of rule that a good model should always have observations, then parameters. So if you have daily sales data and you expect that it exhibits annual seasonality, you should have more than 365 data points to train a successful model. And similarly, if you have an hourly data and you expect weekly seasonality, you should have more than 168 observations to train a model. These are some of the bare minimum numbers of points needed to train this type of model. And more data is really required if you want to test how accurately your model performs against the insights you want to generate. So step 5 is really to determine if your knowledge content is prepared and structured for a natural language processing. for a machine to be able to deal with text data, the text data need to be first cleaned and prepared so that it can be fed to algorithm for analysis. So, NLP uses wide range of application, and some common technique it uses includes breaking text into individual words or phrases, extracting text, metadata, and other contextual information in an indexed format from different file types and document storage formats. And it also does a really good job of breaking down documents into more atomic units like section, paragraph, sentences, phrases, and words. And there is a lot more which goes behind the scenes. So at GT, we are exploring this new product called Microsoft Syntax. I believe many of you might be familiar with it, which is content understanding and processing service that can be trained to find, organize, and classify information from documents hosted within Microsoft O365 environment. It has shown great promises to us, and we are considering it for extracting, analyzing, and categorizing host of our document types like client engagement case studies, RFPs, content for our intranet, etc., to capture information and harvest knowledge from documents. So I think I want you to take a moment and think about how generative AI could really index the
Hi, Deepak.
Alex, did I lose you?
Yes, for a minute you froze for a moment and the screen sharing's dropped. Your slides have gone off.
Okay.
I just came on to just remind you we had about 10 minutes to go. So. It's
Sure.
back now.
Thank
It
you,
looks
Alex.
fine. No problem.
Right. So I think I was talking about preparing your content for a natural language processing, and we are exploring Microsoft Syntax, which does a really good job. It looks very promising, and we are using that service to extract information from different file types, put them into rows and columns, and really organize them, ensure all the metadata is part of that database. And we have seen some really good results so far. So I want you to take a moment to think about the effectiveness of AI when it starts indexing hundreds of unstructured documents spread across various platforms versus a database which is organized neatly and classified using the right metadata. So if you do that, chances are you get faster and better insights from your content. So let's move on to the next step. So step number 6 is really to ensure that your KM systems, as well as your other firm system, have robust security measure in place at a granular and row level. This one is really non-negotiable prerequisite for you to limit and control access to information to ensure it is available only to authorized users. So, unifying security procedures and streamlining management across multiple channels and devices to prevent data breaches. Here's how we are doing at GT. We have centralized user access management using streamlined automation. That enables our KM leaders to review and access requests meticulously and approve or reject them based on whether the user is part of the intended knowledge audience. So our objective is to really provide users with insights exclusively from the content they can access. So we don't want users to get insights from the content which they're not authorized to access. And this strategy is effectively helping us mitigate concerns related to data security and confidentiality. So when we went ahead with this approach to our legal team, they came on board very quickly because they understood that the security measures are in place and the controls are in place. So till this point, we have covered a lot of things. So let's take a pause and check what we have covered. We have understood your, oops. your firm's generative AI strategy, aligned your KM strategy with the firm generative AI strategy, assess the readiness, and secure your system before moving on to the step that enables successful implementation and adoption of your generative AI solution. So there's a lot more to come. We will be touching upon testing and training. So let's jump onto that. These are very important steps. To test and train your model effectively, you first need to identify a small group of users within your KM team. Choose subject matter experts or individuals who are on the AI specialist career path, or those who are completely unaware and could provide us great perspective on user experience. So the next step really is to define the criteria and metrics for evaluation of what you want the solutions to achieve. Test if the solution is performing as expected. Use the time to find areas of improvement that can be fixed or improved quickly and cover all bases. Once the solution is adequately matured, do a control release to a slightly larger group of users. This group could comprise of invested firm leaders, key stakeholders from service line and functions, or the business unit you serve for which the solution is being developed. Make sure legal is part of this testing as well, HR, subject matter experts, etc. So with this group, to further test your generative AI solution, make sure that they're thoroughly and continuously training the model over a substantial period by feeding it more data, soliciting feedback, and applying learning from ground applications. This will ensure that your solution is delivering the desired outcome that are within the boundaries of ethics, transparency, and compliance with the governance standards set by a firm. So these are some of the things we have tried, and so far we have got good results. But before I start with generative AI use cases that we have identified to pilot in the firm, it's important for me to share a little bit about how KM operates in GT so you can understand our context and why we are so oriented around generative AI. So a couple of years ago, Grant Thornton brought together three traditionally separate organizations to drive transformation across the firm. And those organizations included IT, innovation, and KM. We all came together to be a new organization called Enterprise Transformation. So we in KM now have an internal brand permission to focus more than just KM. We have a broader opportunity to look at employee experience and solution development as well. So now within KM specifically, we have a strong advisory board that is comprised of several executive KM sponsors in part of the business who represent key part of the business. These are senior partner level firm executive who help us set our KM priorities, and we can stay focused on the most important organizational drivers thanks to their investment. Also within our KM team, we have dedicated knowledge leaders who are aligned with our most important business organizations. And those KM leaders and their supporting teams have a customer relationship management focus. They work with senior people to understand customer pain points from the KM lens and then define KM strategies and projects to address those pain points. So the another piece, which I think is super important for implementing generative AI capability, is to have a development team that understands knowledge management well. I think we are fortunate to have a full-fledged product management team that is trained in Agile and DevOps. This team provides us skills and capabilities to build and deploy solutions without relying on external IT organization. And we have a full suite change management team that also does the work necessary for user awareness and adoption. And lastly, I want to highlight that beyond our core KM team, we have a network of several hundred knowledge champions and ambassadors who serve as our eyes and ears and change agents around the business so that we can keep a tab on the pulse of employee experience. So for our tech infrastructure, a couple of years back, when we started moving to the new Microsoft 365 environment, we understood early on the importance of technology integration. And we went all in to invest in Microsoft applications. The firm's internet, which is called Canvas, is essentially a SharePoint site with incredible value-added features and serves as a primary source of knowledge in the firm. So the entire network and infrastructure were deliberately established to help us give the right KM coverage to the firm and the autonomy to have direct conversation with customers to independently build solutions that reimagine the knowledge workers' experience. So that's in a nutshell how we are uniquely positioned in Grant Thornton. I hope this perspective helps you understand how we are kind of taking a lead in generative AI. So with that background, let's move to the first use case, that is.
Sorry, Deepak, I just let you know we're actually out of time. We've just come up to the end of the time slot.
I'll quickly wrap up, Alec.
Sure.
So I think there are a couple of use cases we are piloting right now. One is around interactive search, and I know in the interest of time, I'll quickly go through it. We are taking baby steps. Instead of showing a list of links to our users, we are providing them an opportunity to interact with the search and ask questions using natural language. So we are using Covio Intelligent Search. That's a leading search engine right now, and that does a really good job. It comes with AI and ML capabilities. So before actually implementing AI, we are investing on ML capabilities that does a wonderful job of providing snippets and specific answers to the questions which our users can ask using natural language. And the other use case which we are exploring is content creation. There are a lot of other aspect of content creation which we are exploring, including our supporting our go-to-market activities, employee productivity, and content classification. In the interest of time, I will not go through them. Again, here we are utilizing technology called Viva Topics. We have done pretty strong pilot for 90 days, and we got some really good results. So if you're interested, feel free to explore that for your content creation and content generation. This is what I've got, and you can connect with me. I'm available on LinkedIn. Happy to connect, and looking forward to staying connected with all of you and share and discuss more ideas. And I know we don't have time, Alec, but I'm happy to answer any question anybody may have.
Thank you, Deepak. Well, thanks very much. Apologies, we need to go on to the next session. We don't have time for Q&A, but see, if you'd like to reach out to Deepak, his email is here. We can certainly forward questions. And Deepak, thanks for a really insightful session. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you, everyone.